Plot: 23 Blast, 2014. Written by Nick Rigonis. When total, irreversible blindness suddenly strikes a high school football star, he must decide whether to live a safe, protected life or to summon up the courage to play football and step back into the world. Indeed, this is the incredible, true story of Travis Freeman, who, in the prime of his youth, unexpectedly contracts an infection that swiftly destroys his optic nerve, leaving him blind overnight. Now, under the influence of Larry and Mary Freeman, his loving parents, Patty Wheatley, the physical therapist and mobility coach who challenges him, Coach Ferris, the trainer who inspires him, and Jerry, the best friend who cannot leave him behind, Travis exhibits what true bravery is, by competing on the gridiron, and by helping his team, the Corbin Redowns, advance to the state playoffs. Voiceover off.
When you're blind and watching movies, what will you find? A blind superhero whose superpowers are acting like he's not blind. A sighted actor over dramatically touching people's faces. Or maybe the whole joke is that they're bumping into different places. A spectacular, macular generation. From tunnel vision to your television. Until they off this movie with audio descriptions. They're movie buffs who know their stuff. You'll be thoroughly entertained. Join Sky and Melissa throughout film history and Citizen White Cane.
Hello.
Hi.
And welcome to Citizen White Cane, the podcast that mandates all blind movie characters be accurate and positive representations of blindness or will send their films to movie jail. My name is Sky McLeod,
I'm Melissa Bukta.
and we are talking about 23 Blast today,
Yeah.
which is the term or the name of a play in football, I think, right?
Yes, that is
It's
correct.
in the movie. So.
Yes, that is the team's favorite play. Well,
The player's favorite
the
play.
the player's favorite play.
I did feel watching this a little bit. I was like, oh, neither of us know how to play football
Nope.
at all, and so just like, don't come to this podcast for your football information. I'm sorry.
No, I couldn't tell you anything about it. I can tell you it's a play. I couldn't tell you how it works.
I don't. Yeah,
the
they like
only-
sort of try to explain it, but it's
Sure,
I'm like, I don't
yeah.
understand this.
My association with football is, I mean, I'm a cheesehead. I'm a Packers fan by default, because most Alaskans are, believe it or not. If you talk to a lot of us, a lot of us are cheeseheads because a lot of us are Midwestern
I was
transplants.
gonna say, is that a Minneapolis?
That is a Wisconsin,
Oh, okay.
Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Figured
the
cheese had to be
Green Bay
somewhere in
Packers.
there.
You were close. You were close. Yeah. Anyway, so I've had my football by association, I suppose, is what I could say. My brother was in Pop Warner Pee Wee football, so
I have absolutely no ties to football other than my family was actively hated it. That's about it.
Understandable. I mean, yeah, unless the Packers are playing, I could give a shit, honestly, about football. Although my brother and I had the NFL Monopoly, and we would play that all of the time. And our
That sounds like a nightmare.
it was, but like we made it fun. I mean,
Nice.
the dice are shaped like footballs, and we made fun of the Cardinals. I think they're no, that's not right. I don't remember what state they belong to, but they're the Cardinals, and they were on like the least valued square on the board. So we always used to say, "Cheap, cheap, go the Cardinals." So stupid. But anyway, despite myself, I actually kind of enjoyed this. It is very, 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 very wholesome.
It's extremely wholesome.
So wholesome. It is ridiculously wholesome. But in its wholesomeness, it's also not, I didn't find it overly saccharine. It is saccharine, but I didn't find it overly so. This is definitely one of those, I would tell my mom and dad, go watch this movie.
Yeah, it doesn't have anything overly offensive in it. Like,
No.
nothing is offensive at all. I mean, like, in any way of that word. Like, it's not offensive in, like, the Christian values offensive, but it's also, like, nothing is, like, super ableist or anything.
Right,
It's just
right.
kind of, like, I mean, it is based off a true story, and it is definitely, like, veers into the inspiration porn vibes. Like,
Oh, definitely. Most definitely.
like, it is kind of more squarely in that pocket than anything else. The true story seems kind of like, I don't know. It is one of those things where I'm like, why did we have to see this person go blind? Because he goes blind when he's 12 in real life, and
Oh,
and the
well,
movie has him like go blind in the middle of high school when he's already like the superstar high school football player.
well, because that's more drama, unfortunately.
I mean, I don't know. It seems more drama to be like the whole team in school is against me playing because of who I am and my identity since I was 12 years old. And
Sure.
like that to me would be far more dramatic and interesting to watch. But no, we have to watch him like already be good. So we don't have to, like, he doesn't have to fight for any recognition. He just has to fight for recognition now that he's blind.
Right.
So it becomes like so focused on him becoming blind. Then we also just, and then we have to see, Miley's favorite thing of just like someone be like, I'm blind. Oh, my
Yeah,
life's
there
over."
was a lot of wallowing in this movie.
Yeah.
A lot of wallowing. But I just kind of felt I did feel for Travis. I mean, it's suddenly going blind. I mean, like that. And I'm not saying like the actual true story, but just like movie, just looking at what the movie shows us,
Like he had abled privilege and now he doesn't have it.
Right. But I mean, I feel empathy for, for him. I mean, it was, one day I could see and everything was fine. And the next day I wake up and my whole life has changed.
Yeah.
And now I have to relearn how to live, essentially.
Yeah.
So, I have empathy for that. Did he have an easy go of it? Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
He's white and male and has white male privilege.
I
Yes.
know.
Yes.
I was kinda like, I don't
1,000%.
feel that bad for you. Like, welcome to the rest of the world,
Right,
man.
right.
Like, welcome to being a human being when you're not in, like, an extremely privileged little bubble of, like, privilege. But,
Sure.
but I don't know. It's sometimes, in some ways, made some of the movie easier to watch because when everyone's like, this kid's blind, like, fuck him after he goes blind, I'm like, well, he is a white dude, so it made that part easier because it's like not like kicking someone when they're down. It's like
Right.
interesting to watch someone that had privilege like lose a little bit of it.
Yeah,
like
and
that
then-
makes it more interesting than like Ice Castles where you're just like,
Sure.
she's already she's a disabled woman, everyone's just fucking gaslighting her, whereas this was just kind of like a little bit more, you could kind of like you could be a little more emotionally removed from them fucking with him because I was like, oh, interesting. It's like, what would it be like to be a privileged person and then lose that privilege?
Well, I thought it was also really interesting because I thought we'd go through the whole movie, he goes blind and then he figures out how he navigates the world and then he's like, okay, now I'm ready to play football. I really want to play football. Football's all I am. I thought that that would be his motivation, and it's actually more, at least in the movie version, it's actually more on the coach.
Right. Which is similar to Ice Castles also, I thought about.
But like this coach, I actually liked.
Yeah.
Like Stephen Lang plays Coach Ferris, and having seen Stephen Lang play the villain all the time, it was really nice to see him play like a nice, wholesome guy and someone who was actually in Travis's corner and is like, come on, like let's go, get back out there.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I really liked.
You would
appreciated
need
his character.
a coach to be like that to ever get to play it all, really. I would think.
Right. I mean, because he didn't want to give up on Travis because he was blind, or
Right.
he also was willing to like try and adapt the game for the most part so that Travis could continue to play.
Right, which is hard too, because it's like it is partly about like adapting it, but for the team, but then there's always going to be another team that you're playing, and so
Sure.
I think that was like one of those things where I was like, yeah, you could, like, there's a lot of things the team need to do together, but then ultimately it just depends on who you're playing, because like, you're more likely to have someone be actively antagonistic on the other team because they have much more incentive. Like, because in the movie we see his teammates being assholes to him and purposely antagonistic, which I was just like, that's so stupid. He's on your team. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, I just didn't understand it. And then later in the movie, they're like, you know, if you're gonna lose your scholarship if you're not nice to him, and it's like, okay, yeah, duh, like, he's your teammate. Like, I don't know what the fuck is wrong with
Oh my
you.
God, I thought that was hilarious. The assistant coach is just like, yep, well, you better shape up, you know, or all your hopes are gone. Just like, oh, yeah.
I mean, it was good, but then I was also just like, it didn't make any sense to me that a character would be so antagonistic to this blind guy who's on his fucking team. You have to get used to it. Like, come on, dude. Don't be a fucking... How dumb do you have to be?
Right, but how often do you think, like, this is a small town in Kentucky where football is everything. Like, this is high school football. This isn't even college football. This is high school football, and it means everything to these people. And all of a sudden, and you're doing things this way for years or centuries or however the hell long you've been doing it, I don't know. And then all of a sudden, you have someone who is disabled. You have an uncontrolled variable who is put on your team. I'm not trying to play devil's advocate here. Like, Travis has every right to play just as much as anyone else does, and he has every right to not be treated like crap from his team.
Yes, team. Like,
his team.
It just seems like the more likely thing to happen would be, like, to get crap from the other team and, like, actually just lose the game and then it be unfair and, like, bullshit. Mm-hmm. Like, that would be the thing that I would expect to happen because people are going to play dirty and be assholes about it.
But when I guess it's more drama, more tension. I mean, when even your own team is against you.
Yeah, it just, I mean, maybe I just don't understand football, but I was just like, what a stupid choice to be making. I just didn't understand why anyone would be that dumb.
I don't necessarily understand football, but I do understand I was about to say I do understand as a blind disabled person, but fucking everybody knows I'm blind disabled. Anyway,
you can say that.
As a fellow blind person, I do understand though the struggle of having to prove yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
To prove that you can do this thing, even though he'd been doing it according to the movie, even though he'd been doing it for years as a sighted person, all of a sudden he has to come up and prove all over again that he can do this and that he can meet the physical demands of this task.
No, definitely. You would definitely have to fucking prove yourself. And I think, I agree with that 100%. I think his teammate probably does exist in real life. And I mean, I don't know if this exact person, because it is based on a true story, I don't know if he exists, but I think there are people who would do that to their own teammate. I still think they're stupid. Like, I think real
absolutely.
People doing that, it's just unfathomable to me. But, you know, people are very ableist and yeah, I don't think that I would not be like, that doesn't exist ever. I think it's just like, just amazing how much of an asshole people are.
But luckily, we don't spend like half the movie on that topic. Like,
a lot of things happen in the movie.
This movie is a breeze.
Yeah.
Like, we just go from one event to another, to another, to another, to another, and it's very. On the one hand, it seems very rushed, but on the other hand, I was kind of fine with it.
Yeah,
like a lot of the stuff that we just kind of gloss over is just stuff that I'm like, it's just a cliche. I really don't want to spend very much time on it, and thank goodness we don't. You know, the kid who...
There's a lot of cliche stuff.
There's so much cliche. But like the kid who is being an asshole to him on the team ends up like teaching him how to be a center.
Right.
You know, and then they have more of they have a better team relationship. The most interesting relationship in the movie is Travis and Jerry's relationship, and I think in the end of the movie that relationship kind of sort of gets shafted in order to finish Travis's story.
Yeah, it's weird because it's like seems like their relationship was supposed to be the heart of the movie, and then it just kind of doesn't fully add up in the end.
Yeah, and sometimes it is, and then and then you see like the little, you know, Jerry's getting jealous and Travis and Jerry have a fight, and Jerry doesn't believe in himself, you know, and then that just kind of, and then the finale game of the movie happens and nothing is resolved, and I'm like, okay. Also,
doesn't Jerry like step back to? Well, I don't remember actually. Yeah, you saw it this morning, so. But some of it's visual, so I got kind of lost at the end. But yeah, what were we gonna say?
Well, also, convince me because I don't know if you can, convince me that these two are not supposed to be in a romantic relationship.
I will not try.
Thank you, because
that's what I
thought. Come on, man. Come on. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, yes, men can definitely have close, intimate friendships without being, you know, in a relationship together. Abso-fucking-lutely. But you cannot watch this and tell me that these two are not in a relationship.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they have a very their fights feel much more like couple fights than
like
just
fights
like
between
bro
friends.
Fights.
Mm-hmm.
They're not very. They are not broy at all. They're just like, they do seem like someone, like two people who've been in a relationship for a long time and like are sometimes on the rocks because they are kids also. So it's like some of that like kind of like high school drama of like romantic relationships. Yeah, no, they don't. I will not bother at all trying to convince you.
They're absolutely, in my head, they're absolutely 1,000% in a relationship together.
Yeah, and it is kind of, God, it's sad though, because the real Jerry died at 26 years old.
Right, and the movie just kind of glosses over that too in the end credits, and they're like, in memory of the real Jerry. And I'm like, whoa, hang on,
he fell off a roof.
Oh,
like helping his family, I think it was, like to, like, it just, and it seemed like there was just weird, I don't fully understand what was happening, but like in the movie he's like kind of like the bad boy kid who rebel, like smokes,
going to prison, drinks,
and so I think the real life person like dealt with substance abuse related stuff, and like but then there's like weird things about his parents were like he was a complicated guy, but then it was like he died from complications from a fall, and they were like, but his fall was not complicated, or so I don't know. I didn't fucking understand what they were trying to say, but like it just seemed very weird vibes to me, and really sucked because it seemed like he was just. I mean, God, it is very sad that he would die at 26 years old.
I know,
and
that's tragic.
And like, yeah. Very sad.
When if you're looking at the movie's portrayal of their friendship, it is beautiful and sweet and intimate, and they
it seemed like in real life
reminded me friends.
Like some of the pictures they showed, I was like, oh, they might be a bit more.
I know.
Like I feel like they played up the like animosity in the movie. It seemed like to me, but it's sad. I mean, yeah, it's just that is so sad. It's weird also that Travis became a preacher in the movie.
He ended up getting his PhD and then going to seminary school.
Yeah, the fact that he's in this movie as the preacher, I was just like, yeah, the entire movie you can tell that he was cool with this. It wasn't like one of those movies where someone was like, this is not a good representation of my life. Right. It wasn't like, and like for good reason. Like it wasn't like Helen Keller watching fucking Miracle Work or whatever.
Right.
Like, he definitely, I think, I could understand why he was chill with this movie. It was putting him in a very nice light. Like,
well, it's a very innocuous, inoffensive movie.
Yeah, I mean, and he is also like the heartthrob good boy. What are the words you would use? But like
the good old boy,
good old boy is, I guess, isn't that kind of like more. Just kind of like the boys club. No, I don't know what I'm saying. No, he's just kind of like the golden boy kind of guy. It's just like a good kid, and he's the quarterback. Sure. Is he a quarterback? I think he is.
He was.
Yeah. And he's just painted as the very like wholesome kid. Yeah. You know, that's got everything going on. And then he goes blind. He's mad about it, but then he like kind of gets back into life and then just goes back to where he was before. And there's that scene with Jerry where he's like, it's always about you and how, and I'm like, yeah, Jerry's a point, man. Like, well, like, okay, you have a weird uneven relationship.
That's interesting because I kind of thought that came out of nowhere, at least from Jerry's perspective. I'm like,
well, that's like the first scene of the movie. He's like, that we see Jerry being like, this is my friend. I mean, it's very like overwritten.
Sure.
But I feel like they sort of set up, I mean, I think they set up the dynamic at the very beginning of the movie, and then they kind of just like do other stuff that kind of meanders away from it, and then they come back to it at the end.
And I think that's why it caught me so off guard. Yeah. Because I'm like, well, we're bringing this up again now, but there's nothing nothing it's not been addressed. Nothing's
Before
been done,
now.
really.
Yeah, and I
So-
think, like, I mean, I guess it makes sense that he goes blind, and so then, you know, there's kind of like an evening of the power dynamics, and then once he's, like, Travis is fully accepted back in the team, and it seems like it's gonna go back to normal before, you know, then it's like this sense of, like, oh, we were more on even footing, you know, when you went blind, and now it's back to you being the person everyone loves, and me being, like, kind of the scapegoat is
Sure.
kind of how I read Jerry's whole
his
thing.
arc.
Yeah.
I mean, and anyone would feel pissed off or bad about that.
Yeah, it does come completely out of the blue. It is very, it's not really set up very well, because he's, like, really mad, and, like, when he's really mad and, like, storms off, you're like, what is going on with him?
Exactly.
Like,
Well, and then-
so he could have
and
done a
then
much better job.
Right. And then Travis finds him, like, in the back of his truck drinking or whatever on school property, and they talk about it. But, again, it's nothing really comes of it.
Yeah, it is weird. The way that their relationship arc is set up doesn't totally track. It is kind of all over the place and not super, like, coherent when you look at, like, each step in a row. It's just kind of, they kind of ping pong back and forth of, like, being friends and not being friends. But it is, yeah, I mean, I did want to see more. I wanted to see a better, kind of more coherent and more focused thing on their relationship. I thought that was an interesting, like, aspect of the movie. I liked them as a team, and I wanted to see much more of their relationship.
They were super fun to watch on screen. I mean, the scene in the hospital where Jerry cheers Travis up, like, that's great. That's such a cute scene. And then they play fight and everything, and
so adorable.
And the scene where, you know, where they go out late at night with the center and Ashley, and they're trying to show him how to do it, like that, and they're together. Like, that's a good scene. So, like, yeah, I mean, obviously the two actors had a lot of chemistry, or we wouldn't even be commenting on all of this. Right. But, you know, I am happy that those were the bigger chunks of the relationship that we're focused on, rather than the fighting.
Absolutely.
Because
I just wanted to see more of that.
Right.
Part, like the being friends.
I don't want to watch them fight.
Yeah.
So then
it did seem kind of forced.
So then don't bring it up. Because, like, if this is a feel-good movie, no doubt. But it's like when you try and do the explore the other aspects of people's relationships, the darker stuff, it just comes off as forced, or
especially in this movie when there's so much going on,
right? Like, really just tacked on as an afterthought. And I'm like, you know what? If you have nothing to say or don't want to deal with it, don't deal with it. I would have been fine with that.
They could have just been there's enough stuff. There's enough friction in other relationships. They really just don't have to be mad at each other at all. They could have just been supportive of each other the whole time. Like, it feels very weird. And it also did seem like Jerry, the real person, was not, because he was not not getting to have any say. It seemed almost like the real person was painted in a weird light that maybe they didn't have to totally answer to.
We should also mention that Brian Hoover played Jerry, and Mark Hapka played Travis in the film as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, I liked them. I enjoyed them very much. And then this made me laugh. Alexa Penavega plays Ashley. Alexa, before she was Penavega, aka Spy Kids.
Yes, exactly.
It makes me so happy. I love her.
I like how she was very tomboyish.
She's so cool. Yeah. I really liked Ashley. She wasn't just like the love interest, you know. Yeah. She was there to, like, get down and get dirty and help out.
She, like, played football.
She played football. Yeah.
Which I like that.
Really cool.
But it was oh my gosh, the football stuff with we have, you know, obviously he goes blind and now is on the football team. And so a big thing in the movie is that, like, it's the head of sports, I think, at the school, the athletic director, right. That is just like, no, we are not going to have a blind person on our team, and it's going to be dangerous. He's going to endanger everyone else on the team. And I was like, you have a fucking football team. You don't give a fuck about, like, endangering children. Like, are you kidding me? They're playing football.
Right. It's really hard now to watch this movie and not think, like, the first thing I thought about was CPE. I mean,
like, and instantly when there's a bunch of children sitting on a bench, is for the first scene of the movie, I was like, fucking, I'm praying to see this.
I know. I think pre-college me probably would have enjoyed this movie because I would not have been thinking about that the whole time. But yeah,
it's very hard not to think about it, and it does make the whole stakes of the, like, our boys are gonna get hurt. You just want to scream at the TV and be like, then don't have a fucking football team if you care about that.
Or modify the game, play touch football or something, you know?
Just like, you obviously don't care about your students, but it just was very distracting to me. I was like, I can't empathize with this. This is like, it's ableist, but it's also just like so wrong that you would care if there's a blind kid and you wouldn't care that they're getting concussions constantly. But yeah, so that is in retrospect, big plot hole in the movie, I guess, sort of. But it is kind of funny because we have this orientation and mobility teacher that is very... she's hilarious.
I loved her in the film Patty Wheatley, played by Becky Ann Baker. I loved her. That is the closest on-screen representation I've ever seen to my own BVI teacher, and she made me so happy. I just thought of, like, I have this button on that says do no harm but take no shit, and I felt like that summed up her character pretty well, because that also sums up my vision teacher really well. So
it is. I'm going through O&M right now, and so I feel like I have a teacher similar to her too. It's very funny. She's probably based on a real person too, then.
Yes, she is, because they show her in the after credits. They show, like, all those pictures. Those are the real people in the crowd. Those are the real people. So
which
yes,
is
she's
probably why she comes off as a real person.
She feels very much like, oh, I know this person. Yeah,
but she is so, like, she like how she, like, just storms into his house. And
oh,
like,
my God! Mm-hmm.
The state of Kentucky requires that what does she say? She has a couple different
spiel. So the state of Kentucky enforces the basically IEP, so individuals with disability education program or plan or whatever, and you cannot deny the state of Kentucky giving your son an education. Right. They're just like, oh my God, yes.
So good.
Because, like, he goes to the mobility center, doesn't like it, is scared probably because this is all new to him, and just wants to go home and sit in his room all day. And his parents just
let him do that.
Just let him do it. And his parents seem like very nice people. I don't think they were trying to be neglectful.
But you just want to slap them and be like,
you
what
do
are you
just
doing?
want to slap them. I'm like,
you wouldn't treat a sighted child like this.
Exactly. Like, he's in his room. It's dark. Apparently, he just refuses to take a shower. There's
blind
dirty
people
dishes
can
everywhere.
smell unless we got COVID.
Yeah, exactly. And I love the fact that, like, she just bursts in, goes into his room, and is just like, this is unacceptable. It's just like,
very funny.
We're gonna learn you some new skills.
Yeah, the thing watching this movie, I'm like, well, I don't know how much. I never had an O&M teacher. I never got O&M training. No one broke into my house and was like, you are going to make sure your child has this training. It is not necessarily how that happens. Like, she definitely goes above and beyond in ensuring this. It does make it seem more like blind kids get better kind of infrastructure, from the government, which is not necessarily accurate, but it does still, feels very righteous. So it's kind of like a combination of, like, this, the expectations is set may be wrong, given that even though we have these, like, technically the government says certain things, but what actually happens on the ground is very different than what.
Well, and what I liked about it is when she walked into his room and saw him, and even at the center, he'd missed 2 appointments. That's why she showed up at their home. She didn't look at him and see a lost cause. And I'm not saying his parents thought he was a lost cause either, but they weren't doing very much to help.
No, they were doing nothing. They were basically indulging him, and like every fucking high school student at one time is like, I don't want to do high school anymore, blah blah blah. Like that's
Absolutely.
You don't have to be disabled to do that,
right?
And like you would never treat an abled student like, okay, well, never mind, we'll just not. You don't have to anymore.
And not clean yourself, and I'll just bring you all your food. You know,
yeah.
No,
never
no,
do
no,
that. Yeah.
Never ever.
So I liked her character a lot, and just that she was just like and no shit from anyone,
right? And she was also willing, very much willing to be like, yeah, you should play football. Like, yes, let's go. The school is gonna give you shit for it. Cool. I will come in and advocate for you.
Right. They even like break into the school technically, which is
to learn the school. Oh, that was a really cool montage too. Just all of his mobility training. I was like, oh my god, I've done all of those things.
Yeah, I know. Well, because I'm like literally doing mobility training right now, so I was like, oh my god, it's like being in step and all these things.
Yep.
Like, oh my gosh.
I recognized like his cane technique and the way he was navigating the halls and everything. I'm like, oh my god, I spent the summer doing the exact same thing before I went to high school and during high school. Yeah,
it is. It's pretty. It's so much stuff being in it right now. It's like very, especially as an adult. It's weird,
right? And that's a part of the movie that it was great. Everything felt very accurate, and even though we're dealing with a sighted actor, and obviously the actress who plays his mobility teacher is also sighted, but so is most of my.
I was going to say most
teachers
mobility teachers are,
yeah. But that felt just real, and I felt seen, and that was really cool, and I was definitely not expecting to feel like that watching this.
Yeah, her stuff was definitely the best. There was a scene with her teaching him in the trailer, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe this isn't a bad like, because the stuff that she does is definitely probably the best part of the movie, and the most feels the most accurate and like actually about blind people. And so yeah, I think that her stuff, I love how when the meeting they officially have with with the head of the athletic department. Yeah. And how she's like, which is what I was ripping off for the intro, but that she's like, you guys can go to jail if you don't let this kid play.
I'm going to come down here with padlocks and the National Guard. And I'm just like, oh my god. And all the disabled people in the room watching this, we know this is absolute bullshit.
Complete
bullshit. So great.
It's so funny. It's I was like, this would not work in real life, but it is just very funny to it is just such a great such a swing that she makes
to
too.
Watch him sweat for a little bit. It was like, yes.
It's funny too. So I'm like, that would be such a gamble in real life. They would be like, well, I've actually been doing this job and I've actually discriminated against disabled kids before, and so I actually know you can and no one cares. But I mean, maybe threatening someone with a lawyer would at least do something.
Well, and I thought that was as far as it was.
Yeah,
I
really
was like,
did too.
Okay, she's gonna bring in the lawyer, and of course he's gonna cave or whatever, and then it just keeps going, and it's great.
And then at the end, she is just I was like, they gotta have a scene where she's just like, well, I might have embellished a few things, and they did do that sense and leave it seeming like funny. That would actually happen.
Do we have that clip? We haven't played a clip in so long.
I know. I was thinking about that. Yeah, we can.
Roll that beautiful bean footage.
Blind. In the middle of all that mayhem, if something happened to him, I wouldn't be able to live with myself. Not to mention the school's liability. So, no.
Well, it's not your call.
You can't stop him from playing football.
I can, and I will. I'm the athletic director, and my word is gospel.
Gospel, huh? You sure about that?
Yes, I am. Travis Freeman will not play football.
Okay, you all heard him. Oh, by the way, who's your lawyer?
My what? My lawyer?
In accordance with the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act of 1990, the state of Kentucky is bound to offer an equal opportunity to participate in any school-sanctioned functions to any child with a disability.
Well, hang on a
I
second.
will alert your principal that your actions have put your school in direct conflict with the federal government and advise him to expect the National Guard to shut and padlock the school doors in the morning.
Well, no, hold on now. I'm not breaking any laws. We have regulations. Look, it's
If I were you, I'd clear my schedule for the next few months. You and your boss might be spending time in jail.
Jail. Lock me up. No, hang on. Every player needs this form. I looked it up. This form, signed by his parents, allowing him to play.
I signed that already.
Both parents need to sign it. Now, I believe that Mrs. Freeman has the same doubts that I have. Isn't that true, Mrs. Freeman?
Oh, that was a bad move.
Excuse me?
Larry. You got a pen?
Well,
Yes.
Oh my god, I love it so much.
That was definitely
That's a
that's
highlight.
the best scene in the movie.
That is the best scene in the movie. Yes.
yeah, it is. I mean, that's. I think that is the movie in all of its good parts is encapsulated in that scene.
It gives me hope.
Yeah.
Like, you know, for all of the blind, disabled students out there and all of their teachers and stuff, it's just like, yeah, there are amazing teachers out there who are totally willing to advocate and go to bat for you.
Yeah, and
they-
it's like not that hard. You just have to lie about the National Guard.
Exactly. All you have to do is lie. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Just scare the shit out of them and you'll get what you want.
There you go. That's the
Be
moral of the story.
Be stubborn and scare the shit out of them.
I mean, you have to be stubborn, I guess, to get
Mine
what you
certainly
want.
was.
But yeah, it is. It's very cute, that whole thing. I mean, like, you know, even if it's just like whatever about if that is reasonable to expect that would actually be the outcome of that, it's still, there's something very cathartic about it. You know, it's one of those classic movie moments of like, we're
absolutely.
gonna let this disabled person do, you know, it's anytime you have
It's
just like, yes, women
uplifting.
can do this
Yeah.
thing, you
Yeah.
know, like one of those things where you're just like, yes, the little guy won. But it's, yeah, I mean, though it is also very funny that he's so worried about that. It also encapsulates the weird cognitive dissonance the whole movie has, that like he only cares about the blind kid playing football but not the sighted ones. But yeah, I don't know, I feel like we were talking about how this will probably be a short episode. It's a short movie.
It's a short movie. It's like an hour and a half, I think.
Not too much happens.
It's very straightforward. It's very economical in its storytelling. It comes in and sets out to do something, and then it accomplishes that goal.
Yeah.
And it's not. It feels like a made-for-TV movie, but not
A little bit.
not in a bad way. Honestly, I've seen some really good made-for-TV movies, and this would maybe be one. I don't think it was a made-for-TV movie, but
No, I don't think so. And it's a little bit like, it has a little bit of a like Christian movie vibe too.
Totally. It's very Christian without shoving it down your throat.
Yeah.
The only moment I was just kind of like, and I cringed out a little bit
He
was
loses the cross.
no, it was the church. It was actually the church moment with the real Travis. 'Cause
Yeah.
he literally has a come to Jesus moment, and I'm just kind of like, all right, this is a little on the nose, and I don't. It's no.
Yeah, he's like a dream about which also I
Right.
was like, that would have made me so uncomfortable, because the real Travis is like, everyone close your eyes.
And I'm like, oh no.
I was like really expecting it to be one of those scenes where he's like, I don't feel safe in church now, and that was like, so it's like, no, he loves it, he eats it up.
Yep. No, that's his come to Jesus moment. And knowing that was the real Travis playing the preacher, I'm like, all right, I guess you get a pass. Fine.
Yeah, I know. It's like a
Alright,
very
fine.
weird. I mean, you know what? Whatever floats your boat. It's
Right.
I mean, it's better than like telling Christians that the devil like is in them, and if
in
they
their
were
eyes.
punished, you know, their
Yes.
families being punished or
Yes.
something. Like, you know, I'd much rather this.
This feels like a movie that you would find on like PureFlix or Dove, but it's also too good to be on PureFlix or Dove.
Yeah, it's
so
like
it's
a
on
little
Amazon.
bit too high a quality of like production and stuff, but it is just very. I mean, yeah, it's very wholesome, and it does have a little bit of Jesus-iness, but it's not like over the top.
Right.
And there's no like Deus Ex Machina Jesus thing, like
Which is
it
nice.
Yeah, it's very. I mean, it's much more of the inspiration porn,
Yes.
like model than an actual Jesus movie.
It's schmaltzy. It's
Yeah.
schmaltzy, but you know,
You know,
I was kind of here for it. honestly.
Of all the movies we watch, it's not that bad, honestly.
No, exactly. This definitely this would be a great feature with Apple of My Eye, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, it's totally got the same vibes.
And it's slightly has a better plot point in that he actually still gets to play football and that he doesn't have to give it up for no real reason.
Yeah, and this isn't. It is not a story about him having to convince everybody. I mean, yes, there is that one. There's the one scene, you know.
Yeah.
But I really love having the coach come to him and bring him back.
Yeah, the other people.
Right. It's about the other people in his life who care about him and don't want to just see him sit in a room all day. I thought that was really refreshing.
You get to use that male privilege for something.
I know.
I mean, it's true though. It's nice to I think it would be very hard to re-enter that situation if you didn't have an adult on your side, and so it almost feels, kind of like that was almost a necessary step because. Right. If you just have a bunch of adults telling you that you can't do it, then that's
right.
It's just exhausting.
The coach doesn't bring him back just because, wouldn't it be funny? Wouldn't it be a gag to have a blind player on our team? Oh, wouldn't this get us more press or more sympathy? Like, the coach brings him back because he's still a great football player.
It's like kind of like because he needs him. It's the moral.
He needs that outlet. He needs to play at the time, football was what he loved.
Well, also, the football team needs him. Is what I meant.
And the football. Okay, you're right. Sorry, the football team also needs him. Yeah, because they're not doing so hot either. Yeah,
and he knows how to play, which it is. Yeah, it's always weird, the fact that we see all these stories where people have to go blind in the movie to make it that part of the drama instead of just seeing a blind person go through all this. For what it is, I would find it more interesting for him to just be blind and not go blind. I think it does a decent job at creating, taking the story and still using some of the more interesting parts about convincing people that a blind person can play just as much as anyone else can.
Yeah, well, and I kept thinking about what you and I are always talking about, blind people can do anything.
Yeah.
If we set our minds to it, blind people can do anything.
Right.
Those things might have to be changed or adapted.
Right. And everything is adapted to abled people.
Sure, why not?
It's not everything has to be adapted to the people using it. Mm-hmm. And so we just got unlucky that things are not adapted to us. That does not is nothing to do with our capabilities.
Right. And the fact that I had to wait until basically 8th grade, my freshman year of high school, because it was that summer, I believe, I had to wait that long to go to a camp that was specifically adapted and designed for disabled people, where we played sports that were specifically adapted and designed for disabled people. And I didn't know about any of this crap growing up.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I'm just not interested in sports. I'm not interested in playing sports. I just don't care. But having those adaptations and knowing about them and being able to advocate for myself would have made PE and gym and all that stuff going through school so much more easier to swallow.
Yeah, there is so many terrible experiences I've had with sports, and I realize now, starting to, do pole dancing and doing a lot more, physical stuff, and it's, much more physically intensive, and I'm realizing, especially doing it with Conrad, who's been doing it his whole life and never got told you can no longer do any physical activity.
Right.
I basically was made clear to me when I always wanted to do more physical activity, and I'm realizing now how much catch up I have to play because it was just something that I would have had to so severely fight for, and I just I had to just fight for other things. In the end I decided to fight for other things, and a lot of stuff just wound up going by the wayside, and I realized that being an abled person means things don't have to go by the wayside like that. But it is weird now to just be learning how to do physical things again, and all of the barriers you have, and then also just it's so much easier to start doing something when you've already done things where you have muscles in certain places. Starting from scratch is so fucking hard. It's so much harder than
absolutely.
If you have muscles from doing other things and have the stamina to do certain physical things. So it's something I've been thinking about a lot right now too, and I think we can't, like, I have been amazed at how much better I've been getting and, like, how there is so much progress that I can make. But I'm, like, now being like, hey, I was kind of robbed of, like, a decade of my life where I was doing like, more than that. It was, like, 15 years of my life where I just, like, basically did not do any physical activity because I just had so many bad experiences with, like, accommodations or getting it. So, you know, it is nice to see a kid who's not getting that from day one, like getting the discrimination so much that he just stops from day one.
Yeah. These physical things that he does aren't locked away from him or turned against him.
Yeah.
It's just, it's just coming back in and figuring out, relearning and figuring out how to do it. And that's a process. That takes a long time. Like this movie, it happens overnight, but still.
The montage effect of like, that always has to happen.
The montage, you know it. You know it.
I mean, you can't. I mean, maybe if it was a TV show, you could have someone learning it. But also, like, it's kind of annoying to be in the position of having to learn things and it takes forever. So I understand why movies do montages for that, because I don't want to. Like, it's annoying enough to be the person learning things slowly. It's way more annoying to watch someone slowly learn something over a long period of time. But yeah, yeah, this movie. Should we? I mean, we're kind of circling it now. Should we do our blindness cutie?
Just do it. Yeah.
Do you want to go first?
Sure. This gets a solid 2100 from me.
Nice. So not legally blind.
Not quite legally blind. And I think 2100 is becoming my base, like, average score. Like, for me, a 2100 is not a bad movie.
Yeah.
Because it isn't. It's not a bad movie. But I have a feeling that this is probably one of those that we'll have watched, and then I will probably just move on and might not ever give a second thought to.
It's true.
But I am glad we saw it. I'm glad it exists. I'm glad it's cool that it was based on a true story, and that this is, that the real Travis did all these amazing things and is, I don't know, I'm still doing amazing things.
Yeah.
And it's just nice to watch every once in a while, it's just really nice to watch a nice, wholesome, inspirational family drama, which is what this is.
Yeah.
And I would have no problem recommending or showing it to people.
Yeah.
It's
not
just
toxic or anything.
No, it's not toxic. And I was very much primed to hate, or at least not enjoy, watching all the football players and everything, and just like, oh my God, there's the first locker room scene. I'm like, there's too much testosterone here. But then, you really actually get to see some of them as actual human people. Yeah. And you realize, oh wow, there is just more to them than woo football.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And as far as, another sighted actor playing a blind person, I mean, hey, he uses cane correctly. That's pretty dope.
Could have had a blind actor, but
could have exactly.
Yeah.
Could have, should have had a blind actor always, but I think 2100 is a fair score. And if you're looking for something to show your Sunday school class, why not show them this movie?
Yeah, if you're a football team, I don't know.
Sure. I mean, would I put this on the shelf of like? Unfortunately, every football themed movie I watch, I compare to Remember the Titans, because it is my favorite football movie. I don't like sports movies in general. I love that movie. So, would I put it on the same shelf as Remember the Titans? Probably not. But doesn't mean it's bad, because it's not.
Yeah.
So honestly, yeah. I mean, I enjoyed myself a whole hell of a lot more than I thought I was going to.
Yeah, this is actually going to be one of those weird episodes where I give it a high rating.
Oh my God!
I'm going to give it a 2150.
Okay.
Because I think for the blindness stuff, like, it is inspiration porn. So maybe that kind of takes off, or like gets a little bit down in my book, just because, it's there's a clichéness, but I think you're right that sometimes you just want to watch like a blind person win. Like, you're just like, and then I think from doing this podcast, I think actually I rate it higher now that we've done the podcast, just because I know how many terrible representation there is. And this is like, we see him doing O&M, and we see like him kind of dealing with his blindness, and as annoying as I find the like "what was me" subplots, there was something, I think him being a white dude also, I was just kind of like, it almost made more sense to me that he would just like freak out once he lost some of his privilege. Like that actually emotionally made more sense in my head. And like the fact that he is kind of, you know, like he has everything and has to like learn to be a disabled person is an interesting arc. But then also like getting to watch him be able to play the game still felt good as him being a blind person, and having to, you know, getting to see him win but still having to fight is like cathartic. And you know, it's funny because the true stories are always, they're both like, sometimes I'm like, oh, it's a better representation because it's like based on a real person and that's why, but they're also kind of weird because they always change stuff that I am like dubious of, and I guess this is kind of one of those movies, but I do think the fact anything we watch that's based on a true story tends to be like slightly better because like at least a blind person had to like approve or disapprove of it,
right? And it sounds like from his guest spot, we're hoping that you know, Travis actually had some input on like what was, you know, what the script was, or how people were portrayed, or you know, what events were placed where.
Yeah,
I would hope that he had some
I would
input.
think probably, yeah. And I mean, it's definitely not unfavorable to him, so
No, not
yeah.
at all. It's cool that the actual guy is in the movie.
Yeah,
that's really neat. Like, what a fun Easter egg, you know.
And being a preacher is interesting. I mean, it's a
choice.
It's a choice. Yeah. I mean, it's also kind of an interesting cultural, like it is honestly it's even though it is in the same country as we are, it feels so culturally foreign. Like a lot of the stuff in this movie feels just kind of like watching another person's culture. So but I think in that way I liked getting to watch him navigate disability in a context that isn't necessarily the same as my life, but is just like an interesting character study in that way. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if I would necessarily tell anyone to go watch this movie. Like, I think if you have to watch movies that we do on the podcast, like if I needed to give you like which ones to see and which ones not to see, this would, I guess, be on the to see list if those were the two options.
You know, it's a fun thing to like keep in your back pocket.
Yeah,
like, oh well, have you know, if you're looking for this, like, have you?
Yeah, if you're a football player, like I guess then you might get. I think probably if you're a football player, you get a lot more out of it than I would.
Probably, yeah, absolutely, 100%. I mean, and you should know. If you like sports movies, watch this movie.
Yeah, definitely.
Why not? I mean, yeah, it's...
Go see it if you care about sports, or, I don't know, whatever. But, yeah, it's just, it's passable as well. It's not, it's nothing to write home about, but it's not the worst sports blind movie. Mm-hmm. I think we've done 23 Blast.
Yeah.
There's nothing. Touchdown. Yes.
Touchdown. That's appropriate. Touchdown. Yes. I almost said goal, and I was like, no. Touchdown.
I mean, I would have accidentally said goal. So I'm glad that you brought your extensive football knowledge to the podcast.
Oh, I know that a touchdown is worth 7 points.
Oh,
I
shit.
think. Or is that a field goal?
Okay,
Actually, screw it. I can't remember.
Okay, we'll stop there. We know a lot about football. Melissa, what are we doing next week?
Right. Well, you know, sometimes I try really hard to piggyback off of the movie that you picked to try and find something similar. We're not doing that next week.
Yes.
Next week we're watching Star Wars.
Oh my gosh.
We're gonna do it. Next week we're watching Rogue One.
Oh my gosh.
And you'd think to yourself, does Rogue One have a blind character? Yes, Rogue One has a blind character.
I haven't seen it, so I'll take your word for it. I'm not thinking that at all. I'm thinking Melissa knows what movies have blind characters.
Yes.
We'll pick them.
Rogue One has a blind character. I'm super psyched. It's been quite some time since I revisited Rogue One, so I'm psyched to watch it again. It has been called one of the better Star Wars movies.
A Star Wars story, right?
A Star Wars story.
One
right.
of the better Star Wars stories.
One of the better
Wait,
Star
isn't
Wars
that the one
stories.
with that as the tagline? Or not tagline,
No,
as the
it's
subtitle?
just a Star Wars story.
A Star Wars story.
This is the one. Spoiler alert for the one person who hasn't seen Rogue One.
Well, it's me.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Then I'm not gonna keep talking. I will tell you though that in the timeline of Star Wars movies, this movie comes after Episode 3 and before Episode 4, A New Hope.
Okay.
So this is like the prequel. So that's where you are in like the time.
Right. So, well, this will be fun. All I've seen so far is the Christmas specials.
Oh my god, that's fantastic.
Yeah, this is
That's so wonderful. Okay, cool. Well, I can't wait for you to meet Jin Erso and everybody on in the squadron. So
I am
it's gonna
very
be-
excited for this.
It's gonna be really fun, and obviously it's streaming on Disney Plus, so it should have audio description. And if it's anything like The Mandalorian, it should have really good audio description.
Yeah, the height of audio description, though.
Seriously,
I don't think it is Werner Herzog, right?
Goddamn
Which is
poetry.
sad. But awesome. Well, I'm very excited about this.
Good.
What were we blindsided by? Do you want to?
Sure. So I guess we're going to keep riding that sweet, sweet Disney train for a little bit longer. So I believe I talked about the show Loki a couple of weeks ago, but I've been reading a lot of comics this past couple of weeks. Saturday was Free Comic Book Day, which was super fun to go out and visit a couple of places. I got a bunch of comics, which was awesome.
Nice.
But I've been working my way through the Agent of Asgard arc. For Loki, and it has been a ride. It's been a lot of fun. I originally wanted to start the arc because it makes references to, and it's not as huge of a plot point as I wanted it to be, but it makes reference to the fact that Loki is gender fluid and the fact that they spend time as both male and female presenting genders, and it's been brought up that like Loki is pan, which is really cool. And so the story is basically, it is so needlessly complicated, but needlessly is mean, but yeah. But it's basically Loki is trying to renounce his villainous ways and goes on missions for the All-Mother, the ruling body of Asgard, and tries to make things right. And of course, because he's Loki and he's always destined to play the villain or the god of lies, everything blows up in his face and he has to fix a bunch of things. But it's just been really, really fun, and it's been really awesome spending more time with this character outside of like the MCU and stuff, and just reading and learning a little bit about Marvel Loki, and also a little bit about like Loki in actual Norse mythology.
Nice.
And seeing like what threads they've pulled from the actual mythology into the comic version.
Doing a deep dive.
Yeah. Jessie Gender, one of my new favorite YouTubers, has an excellent video that explores the cultural relevance of Loki.
Nice.
And I've probably mentioned that before, but I don't remember, so I'm mentioning it again.
Maybe, but still, it's still cool.
Yeah, but it's just he's queer, and it makes me so happy. Sorry, they, or I guess he presents as male in the comic, so he's queer.
So does he ever do I would do the they, she, he pronouns. No one else does that. Wish more people did that. If you have those are your pronouns, should say those.
I mean, nobody explicitly refers to Loki as they in the comic so
do
far
they ever say
necessarily.
She?
Yes, because Loki goes undercover as a woman to foil one of the villain's schemes. He just it spends time as a lady. So I just it's just cool. I just really find it fascinating. I find this facet of the character really fascinating. So
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, but that story arc is Agent of Asgard. I believe it's collected in 3 trade paperbacks because I read the first 2 and I'm on the last issue of the last one actually.
Nice.
So yeah. And I'm reading it through Hoopla. Through the library app, which is great. Anyone can access it. It's free. Use your library card. It means that I can blow up all of the print on these comics so that everything is accessible to me.
Yay! Get that library.
Heck yeah.
Accessibility. So exciting. I am doing a very specific to Portland blindsided.
Ooh, nice.
I'm this weekend, Conrad and I went to a club in Portland for the first time. Basically. Because we went, when we were in Philly, we went clubbing, but Portland has been still pretty locked down. But we went to the Goodfoot, which is a club in basically southeast Portland. But right now, there are a bunch of clubs and bars that have a little bit of a because of the government pact that they're going to check vaccine cards at the door. Wow. And so it was very exciting. We got to they were just like, take out your ID and your vaccine card. And we had them both. Dope. Gave them that. And so everyone in the place was vaccinated. And it was also, there was like on the dance floor, everyone was wearing a mask, and then people would go to like different seats to drink, which I think worked out because you were like much more separated by tables, like if you're drinking at a table, whereas on the dance floor it's a lot harder to do any social distancing that's really meaningful. So it was kind of worked out, even with like, you know, concerns about breakthrough cases, which that's not the main thing on my, you know, in my head. In a room full of vaccinated people felt pretty safe to me, but it was also nice that there was kind of like extra kind of consideration, but it wasn't like super strict. But yeah, it was just very nice. It felt like almost like normal. It was definitely, I have asthma, so it's a little bit harder to dance. I probably went home a lot earlier than I would have normally if I wasn't if I was not wearing a mask. I probably could have stayed longer, but I still had a fun time. And if you can breathe better in a mask, you could have even longer of a fun time than me. But that we went to the Goodfoot. They have like a soul funk and disco night that we went to, which was a lot of fun. And the DJ was like, "It's so lovely to be back," and was saying how much he had missed this and like how happy. So it was very, very sweet. So yeah, so that's, and also just like if you own a club in a different city, you should do the same thing. And like I wish that the governor would do something about it, but I'm happy that at least someone is trying to get people vaccinated in places, and then, you know, making that a requirement to enter spaces and stuff, which is I definitely approve of.
Yeah, honestly I thought it was going to be much more of a requirement than it is. Like
it's a bummer.
I still obviously carry my card around in my wallet, but I was going to get it laminated so that I could hang it around my neck, because honestly,
I know that's
I thought,
what
or like pin it to myself.
Yeah, exactly.
Honest to God, I thought people were going to want to see it so much more.
I wish they did. It's so exciting to get to show it to someone.
That's
it's really
awesome.
nice. Yeah,
that's so cool.
So I will show my vaccine card anywhere, everywhere, and I just feel safer in spaces where it's all vaccinated people, because
of course
you just are safer.
Yeah,
and get vaccinated. I mean, obviously this podcast has come out as pro-vaccine many times.
Yeah.
But
the Delta variant is real. Please if you have a compromised immune system and you've already been vaccinated, consider getting vaccinated again. If you haven't been vaccinated, please get vaccinated.
It saves everyone's lives. Like, that is, you know, masks can do some stuff, but they do not come anywhere near the power of getting everyone vaccinated and making sure the hospitals are like can see patients who with breakthrough cases instead of like getting overrun by people who are unvaccinated, which is still the vast majority of people are getting hospitalized, and it makes it really scary for everyone, including unvaccinated people. Like, yeah, so get vaccinated. We say this, I think we've said this so many times, but it bears repeating. It's definitely get vaccinated. Yeah, so this is the podcast about getting vaccinated.
Thanks for coming to our TED Talk.
Yes, exactly. Our theme song is by Lucia Fasano. Our YouTube is Citizen White Cane Podcast. Our Twitter is White Cane Pod. Our Facebook and our Instagram are both Citizen White Cane, and our email address is citizenwhitecanepod@gmail.com. If you'd like to leave us a voice message, there's a link in the show notes.
If you're an able-bodied person, have you played with a disabled person on your team? If you're a disabled person, have you played adaptive sports, or have you played able sports?
Have you ever done 23 blast as a football move, and like, what is that?
yeah. Could you, like, in detail, what is 23 blast?
Just give us some football knowledge, because we don't have any of it. Or talk about how, I don't know, I was going to say a lot of sad things about CT, so I'm not going to say that. What is your favorite Star Wars story? And is it the the Christmas special.
Great. Well, go Pack, go.
And we will see you back here next week for Rogue One.
Rogue One. There you go. You remember.
Yes.
Congratulations.
We'll see you there. Bye.
Bye.
Citizen White Cane.
Elevator. Why you bring me down, elevator? Why you bring me down, elevator? Elevator. You're the meanest ride in town, elevator. Elevator. Why you bring me down, elevator? Elevator. You're the meanest ride in town. Used to live in a penthouse, first class all the way. Now you're giving me the shaft, intending me away. Elevator. Elevator. Why you bring me down, elevator? Elevator. Oh, you're the meanest ride in town. Elevator. Elevator. Why you bring me down? Stop.